Makes sense.
Recording in
All right. My short's been using this thing. All right. Good evening, Queen City Toastmasters. How are we doing tonight? I don't have to scream quite as loud because we're all close enough to play a card game here. So I recently got my car painted. Not my intention. It was black. But when I went outside this morning, it was a nice new shade of green, which means that spring is among us. The pollen is here, and get geared up with your allergy medication or whatever you use. Actually, most years, the first day of spring is on the 21st. It's when the solstices normally happen. But this year, because we had a leap year, spring actually starts at 11 o'clock tonight, technically. And so tomorrow will be the first full day of spring. So we are done with winter. So hope everybody's looking forward to the longer days, not the pollen, but longer days and warmer weather. And hopefully we have a good spring here at Toastmasters as well. Who's our first time guest tonight? Anybody? Got 1, 2, 3. Okay. Just a few logistics. The microphone is not broken. It's tied to our online portal. And so when we record these, they go on the YouTube channels or Instagrams, and you can actually hear whoever's using the microphone, you can hear yourself talking. Also, if you are speaking, we have a lovely HVAC back here who, takes care of our temperature control, so we're not too hot or not too cold. But she is old and she is loud, so you have to speak up when you're talking. And lastly, our restrooms, if you need them, are directly behind us. You can either go this way or that way, whichever is most convenient for you. And with that, I will turn it over to our presiding officer, Dr. Eric Laxer. Who's yeah, better late than never. Here she is, Chocolate Butterfly Williams, presiding officer. She's been excited about this role all week.
Thank you. She can roll out of bed. Not today. I am so tired. But welcome to Queen City. I'm sure Cameron gave you guys all the information you needed about the facilities. Welcome to the meeting. All of our visitors, we are so happy to have you here. And you guys have opened up the meeting? Okay, so I'm going to turn it over to our wonderful Toastmaster and our winner of the International Speech Contest for our area. Let's give him a hand. Mr. Collins, step up.
What she was too humble to mention is that she also gave a fantastic speech in the area contest that was held last weekend. Good evening, Queen City.
Good evening.
Yeah, who's happy to be here tonight? All right. I wanted to see all those hands shoot right up. There were a couple of hands that were straggling a little bit. I know it's a beautiful night. It's probably a beer garden or something somewhere that's calling some of your names, but it's awesome to have this group here as always. Big shout out to all of our guests. We've got 3 first-time guests in the house. We got Jose, who's back for more. It's always great to see our guests here. I think everybody that's a member of this club can relate to how difficult it is to kind of get momentum building around joining Toastmasters. So just come in here. If it's your first time, if it's your 6th time, if it's your 100th time, that is a massive win. That's the victory here. So I'm going to come around. I'm going to pass the mic to our guests. I'd like to know a few things about you. Number 1, what's your name? Number 2, where are you from? I guess there's this fundamental assumption here in Charlotte that no one's actually from here. So we're going to ask where you're from. And then 3, what brought you out tonight? What were you looking for when you typed Toastmasters into the Google machine or somebody said it to you and it planted a seed in your brain? Want to know what that motivation is. We're going to start over here. We're going to work our way around.
Hello, my name is Iman and I am from Charlotte. And what sort of brought me out to Toastmasters in general is the hopes of building better public speaking skills. And then tonight is just a healthy distraction from my day. So I'm excited to sort of watch and see how everything goes.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We got a second-time guest here. Second-time guest.
Hello, yes. My name is Gemma Yaden, and this is my second time here, third time Toastmasters in Charlotte. I'm originally from Seattle, Washington, and I'm here because I just want to get more comfortable speaking in front of people.
Thank you. Jose, what keeps bringing you back?
How are you doing? My name is Jose, and I have been here a handful of times, maybe 5 or 6, I don't know. Yeah, I did a pause during kind of December and the beginning of the year, but I'm back. So yeah, looking forward to joining the club and improving my communication and presentation skills. Oh, when you say where are you from, what do you mean? I mean, I was born and raised in South America, in Peru, but I've been living in the United States for the last 33 years. Yeah, and in Charlotte, I moved here from Florida 6 years ago.
So when people ask you where you're from, how do you normally respond? I mean, you feel like spiritually, American or North Carolinian now?
Well, I feel American, of course. However, you can tell immediately by my accents that, oh, you're not from here. Yeah, so I always say, well, I was born and raised in South America, in Peru, but I consider from Charlotte now. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, happy to have you here.
Hello, my name is Logan, and I was brought here. Oh, sorry. So I was originally born in Maryland, and then when I was almost 2 years old, we moved to Charlotte. So that's where I've been. And the reason I was brought here, I am currently on a sales course, and I want to learn how to be better at debating and public speaking.
Thank you very much. Well, and last but not least,
I'll stand up so I can see everyone's beautiful faces. Good evening. My name is Inaya. I am originally from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. Moved to Charlotte about 2 years ago, so still fairly adjusting to the city. I've joined Toastmasters originally with Wells Fargo. I since transitioned from the company, so I'm looking for something that's not attached to a single organization. And it's my first time here, so I'm definitely looking forward to coming back more often.
All right, let's give it up for all of our guests one more time. This is a judgment-free space. You're not going to be perceived anything but positively by this crowd because, again, you're all winners because you showed up here tonight. There will be an opportunity for our guests to participate. It's during what's called our table topics portion of the meeting. It's an impromptu speaking part of the meeting, so stay tuned for when that comes around. If you do want to participate, you can. Absolutely no pressure to do so. And let's have a great time.
Let's give Colin a round of applause. So we're going to go further into our meeting as our new people were alluding to. They didn't know what to expect. Well, this young man is going to help you and guide you as kind of like our MC today. And his name, our illustrious president, Dr. Eric Laxer.
Thank you, Andrea.
I'm sorry. He wants us to call him Mr. Eric Laxer, but he's actually Dr. Eric Laxer.
Thank you, Andrea. You can call me almost anything that you like. Colin beat me to the punch a little bit, but I wanted to acknowledge two of our members, or Andrea beat me to the punch. This weekend, Colin was awarded as the speech contest winner, first place for our area. So let's give him a big round of applause. Andrea, who's a member of our club, but was speaking for her other club, High Altitude Toastmasters, came in second and gave an incredibly good speech as well. And Andrea also came in first for table topics. So please give her a round of applause. So for our guests, what we do at our meeting is we have a member who serves as our MC. And the MC usually picks a theme, and we get to talk about the theme throughout the course of our meeting. And you'll see other people come up here as I introduce them who have different roles to play. Either they're helping run the meeting or they're actually giving speeches that you see other people in the group will be evaluating. With that in mind, can we pull the slides up, please? And just go full screen mode on the slideshow. The reason you are sitting so close is because My theme today, which is titled Sign Up and Succeed, Getting the Most out of Your Next Toastmasters Meeting Role, is really just to go through some tips that could be helpful. We have a lot of new members on how to be successful when you sign up for a meeting role. And some of the slides you don't see very well, so I'll help you through them as I'll point some things out. But why is this topic important? This topic is important because our club is the place to learn and practice. So here's where you want to get good at things that you have to then do in your place of work where you can excel. And a lot of people come to Toastmasters because they want to be better here to help them be better at work. So here's a potential scenario. This guy's the boss. He says, hey, Taylor, I need you to organize a meeting in 2 weeks, and I want the meeting to be an hour. I want you to have 3 speakers. I want everybody to stay on time. The president of our company is going to be there, so I want you to do a really good job. And I want us to finish after 1 hour because he's got a flight to catch, and he's got to be out of the meeting. So there are 2 potential people that the boss is talking to. The first is the non-Toastmaster who kind of thinks, oh boy, what do I do now? Isn't comfortable doing what he was asked to do, but he's got to get through it. And the second is Taylor, the Toastmaster, who says, you got it, boss. I'm on it, and it's going to be great. And that's the sense that I hope all of us who come here feel as they work their way through Toastmasters curriculum. But it doesn't happen without work. And part of really maximizing what you get from coming to our meetings is understanding how the system online and here with Toastmasters helps you succeed and really doing the best you can with each role that you take on. And it gives you skills in planning, organizing, communicating, leadership, public speaking, and of course, confidence. And if you're asked at your place of employment to do something and you do well, and you instill confidence in people you work with, you're going to get promoted. And we hear that again and again with people throughout Toastmasters. So our goal tonight is to turn you from Taylor, the non-Toastmaster, into Taylor, the Toastmaster. So I'm going to go through specific roles. I'm going to talk about the Toastmaster, the speaker, when you're a speech evaluator, when you're a general evaluator, and then we'll go through a summary, and I'm going to pose a challenge to members of our club at the very end. But before we do that, we're going to have a few interludes throughout the meeting. I'm going to introduce several members who are going to help us make tonight's meeting successful. So our first member is here to help inspire us and motivate us. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to our inspirational thought master tonight, Toastmaster Bill Fountain.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and honored guests. I'm Bill Fountain. Perfect intro, but given our, I guess we'd call it hedonistic society's pleasure-seeking persuasion, I listened to a recent NPR radio interview of a guy named Jeffrey Rosen, who wrote about the pursuit of happiness. And that inspired me. Our founding fathers knew that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness were gifts from God, our creator, and were integral into the natural law. They even thought it so important, they framed it in the Declaration of Independence. Their views are consistent with the early Greeks, the Enlightenment, and even all the way back to Abraham of the Bible, where all of these folks were thinking of happiness is really the pursuit of virtue. Yes, it's more about being good rather than feeling good. This reason is that the founders believe that the quest for happiness is a daily practice of both your mental and spiritual self-discipline to be able to use your reasoning powers to be able to control your unproductive emotions and a way to moderate those. And that's going to free us from being pulled into a dark cave of, I guess you would call it the dark cave of meaningless passing passions. For the founders, happiness was a daily evaluation, and it was that had to cultivate. And one of the founders, of those founders, was Benjamin Franklin. He praised order, industry, and frugality, and he actually went out and said that without virtue, man has no happiness. And I wish our public schools taught some of this, but just as we just heard earlier, is that fellow Toastmasters, you are a beacon of our society. Your pursuit of self-improvement sets a great example for our Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters, and others. You're an industrious group, which is allowing for an ordered pathway, which is going to thus cultivate virtue. So, attaboy, Toastmasters. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Bill. Our next helper is our grammarian, who will explain what the grammarian role consists of. Please join me in welcoming Yasmin.
Thank you, Toastmaster Eric. So I am the grammarian for this evening's meeting. My role today is really just to be the grammar police. I'm going to be here to make sure that everyone's staying honest when it comes to using filler words. For our guests, filler words are really just us thinking out loud, like so. We try to utilize pauses instead of filler words. So if you aren't quite sure what you want to say next, just take a brief pause. Then, of course, I also have the honor of providing the word of the day. And to stay with the theme, the word of the day is fruition, which is the point at which a goal or project is realized. And for our guests, when we hear a speaker using the word of the day, we like to give a little knock on the tables. So feel free to join it. And yeah, that is my role for the day. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasmin. It's important that we stay on time when we're doing our meetings. Please join me in welcoming our timer this evening, who will explain her role, Momita.
Good evening, Toastmaster and dear guests. So I'll be monitoring the time taken by the speeches, table topic speakers, and the evaluators. And all speakers have 30 seconds of buffer on either side of minimum and maximum time. For table topic, guests qualify regardless of their time. So for prepared speeches, the minimum time is five minutes. And when it is 5 minutes, I'll show the green card. And when it is 6 minutes, I'll show the yellow card. And when it is 7 minutes, I'll show the red card. For table topic speeches, the minimum time is 1 minute. And at 1 minute, I'll be showing the green card. At 1 minute 30 seconds, I'll be showing the yellow card. And at 2 minutes, I'll be showing the red card. For evaluator, the minimum time taken would be 2 minutes. And at 2 minutes, I'll be showing the green card. 2:30, I'll be showing the the yellow card. And at 3 minutes, I'll be showing the red card. Thank you.
Thank you, Momita. Can we have the slides back up, please, for us? No, I'm talking to Cameron. Just got to move back to where we were. I can keep clicking to get there. So we're going to spend a couple minutes talking about the Toastmaster. Just like the employee whose boss called him and said, hey, I need you to organize this meeting. When you are Toastmaster, you are in charge. And if you really want to maximize what you get out of this role, you've got to take control. You've got to own the meeting from start to finish, and even before that in terms of preparing. Now, what most of us know to do is we pick a theme, we prepare content, But what we don't usually do are things like filling the agenda and communicating with club members. The ultimate member in the club who is responsible for the agenda is our VP of Education. So as you know, Elvis sends out emails as we get closer to the meeting. But in reality, when you know you're the Toastmaster, part of what you could do and should do to help you is as soon as you see the week coming up, if you see roles are not being filled, then you could send that email out or even reach directly to people. If you know somebody who hasn't spoken in a while and you want to give them a chance to be a speaker, reach out to them and encourage them to sign up for a speaker or some other role. And so I just want to go through showing people how to navigate through this because it's really easy to send out a club email. Has anyone here ever had to do that to members of the club? So mostly people who are on the executive committee, but really anybody can do it. And I apologize, this is a little small and hard to see, but I really want to use this just as a guide map. So that little red square, there's a little envelope. If you want to send an email, you click on that and it brings up this screen. And the blue bars at the top are where you want to look. The first one on the left is who's going to get the email. It usually defaults to all club members. The second one is who should receive the response. So usually it's going to be the sender, which is you. And the third are settings where you could select what you want to include in the email. And it's usually going to be the agenda, and you can pick if you want photos or descriptions. But the way it's defaulted works just fine. So once you've made sure those are okay, in the middle is a message box, and it doesn't matter if you can't read the font. I just put stuff in there which says, you know, the same thing you get from Elvis or I. You can type in anything you want. Hey, I'm the Toastmaster next week. Here's my theme. We need some folks to sign up for some roles and just get people excited about the meeting that day. And then when you're done with that, on the bottom right, you just click send and you've sent that out. And what you want to do beforehand is try to fill as many roles as you can, but you have to be very flexible. And if you haven't filled all the roles, then the day of the meeting, when you come here, you see people who come into the room. I'm usually looking for people with roles, but who don't have roles. Like Allison was supposed to be a speech evaluator, but we didn't have another speech for her to evaluate. So I asked her to be a backup for one of the other roles in case somebody couldn't come. And so you're planning so you make sure that each step of the meeting is successful. You should know how to pronounce everyone's names. You know, if you were doing this in front of your boss and you introduced somebody, you didn't get their name right, it just doesn't look good on you. It doesn't reflect well. You should also present your content in short segments. What I'm doing today is going to be a little longer than typical. And I actually blocked off one of the speeches because I felt this was important for club members to know about. But in general, you should prepare what you're going to present in short segments. You should also be flexible because if 3 people have signed up for speeches, you're going to have less time to talk about material than if only 1 speaker signed up. And so you have to gauge how much you speak in order to keep the meeting running on time. It's a very important goal of our meetings, but also anywhere you might be running a meeting in your professional environment. The next thing I want to go through is how you sign up if you're a speaker. And this is very important, and you'll see why. So we're all used to clicking on that tab, and we know that our picture appears. And then we get this screen where we could add information to. And this information is very important. And what sometimes gets overlooked is this little box, which allows you to select what pathway you're working on. It gives you a drop-down, which lists the pathways that everybody can sign up for. In order to find the one you're working on, it doesn't default to yours. You have to click on this box that says collapse all. And then you get bold-faced of the list of all of the different pathways. Find your pathway and then pick the level or the project that you're working on. So, you know, your first speech is always your icebreaker speech. And then as you advance through different speeches and projects, you go through different levels, and you just have to select the project and the level of the speech you're working on. And the reason that's really important is because when you do that, these 2 unseen boxes pop up. And you see on the left, the boxes aren't there yet. On the right, you've entered the information. So you have put in what your project is and your level. And so those boxes have appeared. And the reason they're important is because the person who's evaluating your speech, which I'll show you shortly, needs those boxes to do a proper evaluation. You then enter your speech title and bio information so that whoever's introducing you knows how you want to be introduced. And there are different ways we can introduce each other when we're acting as the Toastmaster. And once you've done that, you click, I think that says save. Everything you put in there will be saved. But I wanted to give you an example of, this is Dana's from a couple of weeks ago, and she did a really nice job putting her information in. So if I'm the Toastmaster and I'm introducing Dana, I can do one of several things. I can come up here and say, and our next speaker is Dana. Let's hear it for Dana. Or, you know, if my boss is in the audience and she's put this in there and I'm the Toastmaster and I've reminded her because it wasn't in there, I called her a few days ahead of time or I emailed her, she puts it in there. So my introduction could be a lot more richer. And you'll see I'm going to introduce Alan in a few minutes, and we have some of his information in there, which is really helpful to do that. So if that's something you haven't been doing, I encourage you to do that. So I'm going to stop there. And I am going to move on to the next section of our meeting, which is our speaker. And we have a speaker today who agreed to speak on very short notice, and I want to thank him for doing that. And our speaker this evening is Alan Assad. And Alan has been an active Toastmaster for several years. He's currently a member of Ballantine Toastmasters. At that club, he has served in several leadership positions, including club president. He's also been very active in our district. Examples of how he's been active in our district: he is currently an area director. Last year, he served as the test speaker at our district evaluation contest final. I was there. He gave a fantastic speech. And he's also organized several very successful speechathons, and I've been to at least one of those. He continues to take on different leadership and organizational roles in Toastmasters. Most recently, he was a contest master at several different area contests. And he is speaking to us today, talking about his experience with those contests, the speech title is How to Organize a Contest. And I know we're going to benefit tremendously from what he has to share with us. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to our speaker, Alan Assad.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. As Eric mentioned, we are right in the middle of speech contest season. Now, for those of you who are newer members or first-time guests, Toastmasters goes way beyond just these four walls that we're in right now. The benefits of speech contests are to really challenge yourself as a speaker, as well as to network with other Toastmasters throughout the area. Now, for those of you who have just recently competed in a contest, congratulations, well done. But you may not necessarily be aware of what really goes on behind the scenes. There is a lot of preparation, blood, sweat, and tears that goes into planning a speech contest. And that's what I'm going to share with you tonight. I am the Area 33 director, so I oversee several clubs in the South Charlotte area. And one of my responsibilities as an area director is to serve as a contest chair for that area's speech contest. So the first step in organizing that contest is getting individuals to compete. There's two contests. There's the International Speech Contest and then the Table Topics Contest, which is the impromptu speaking portion of Toastmasters. We'll say you would not think it would be such a challenge to get people to compete, but with having still done these contests on Zoom and with so many other priorities competing for everybody's time, it's a big commitment for people to agree to take that on. And my hat's off to anybody who does. And it took a lot of poking and prodding, not just for people at my club, but for the other four clubs that I am an area director for. I think I probably asked every club at least 3 times, I really would like one of you to compete in this contest. Because at the time, I only had people from Ballantyne who wanted to compete. And I'm sure some of you who have been Toastmasters for a while, you know how annoying it is to host an area speech contest with just one contestant. I don't want to bore everyone else with all the laws of Toastmasters International, but when it comes to an area level, you have to host an area contest, even if there's only one contestant. And in my personal opinion, it is an enormous waste of a lot of people's time to have to organize that whole event, beg a whole bunch of people to help out with it, just to hear one person speak. So finally, after a lot of poking and prodding, I was able to get 3 contestants for table topics and 2 contestants for the international speech. And a lot of times when you have area contests, you will collaborate with other area directors and host a combined contests because it's logistically a lot easier to organize a time, organize a place, and being able to utilize several individuals to help out in one night. So Elvis Lopez, who may or may not be on Zoom right now, is the he's not, okay, Area 31 director. So we decided to host a combined Area 31, Area 33 contest. We then had to work amongst each other to figure out what time worked best for both of us. And when it came down to it, we only had a few dates because a lot of other area directors had already picked what dates worked for them. But we ultimately agreed on Wednesday, March 13th. So once we picked a date and once we had our contestants in place, the real hard work began, finding volunteers to help out. When it comes to a speech contest, you need a contest master, judges, ballot counters, timers, a sergeant at arms, and I believe that covers everything. Now, I myself, as the Area 33 director, I was the contest chair. And I chose, just to make it easy as possible, to be my own contest master. And then Elvis did the same thing for his contest. And thankfully, we leveraged our mutual networking skills to get other people to help out. Eric was gracious enough to be our chief judge for the contest. So thank you, Eric. And then it took a lot of begging and pleading, but at the last minute, I got all the other roles filled. Elvis did as well. We got our timers, we got our ballot counters, we got our sergeant at arms. The hardest part, though, was getting judges for 2 reasons. One, judges have to have completed so many speeches in their pathway. And number 2, you have to find judges in other clubs besides the clubs a contestant is competing in. Thankfully, I've been doing this for a long time, so I was able to leverage people from not just this district, but District 58 across the border. So we had a total of 6 or 7 judges from other clubs who did not have any vested interest in the contestants. And then we still had to meet every Wednesday night to make sure we were all on the same page. We all knew who was doing what role, and we all knew exactly who was going to say what in what order. And we were working on this several days right up until minutes before the contest started. But thankfully, everything came together. All the contestants showed up on time. All the judges showed up on time. We all got everybody briefed. And the contest went through without a hitch. All the contestants did a great job speaking, and everyone did a great job filling their role. And we got a really good idea of who could really represent the areas at the division contest, which is coming up next month. And for those of you who are members of this club, the Division C contest will be this upcoming Saturday. So you will get an idea to see just, well, you won't necessarily see all the work that goes into the contest, but you will see how well everything came into fruition. You will get to see the finished product at hand. I do have to say, though, planning the speech contest is a lot of work, but it was a very rewarding experience. Gave me a really good opportunity to flex my leadership muscles and flex my leadership and networking muscles and be able to see who I can and cannot count on going forward. I will say overall, Toastmasters is a really good network of individuals who really will answer the call to action when called upon, as long as, of course, they don't have any other prior engagements. I like to joke and say that Toastmasters are 10 times less flaky than other individuals. But if you're ever in my position and you plan a speech contest, I will challenge you to just ask people to do whatever you need to do for the contest, because 9 times out of 10, they will help out. Mr. Contest, Toastmaster.
Thank you so very much, Alan. We really appreciate your wealth of wisdom. So we are now going to talk about tips for people who are speech evaluators. And you will, for those guests, you will see what speech evaluators do in a few minutes. So I mentioned before that when the speaker enters their information, these 2 boxes pop up on the sides. And when you're the speech evaluator, if you want more information about that person's project, you can click on either one of them. If you click on the left one, it describes their project to you. And the project will be different depending on the pathway and the level that the speaker is working on. So for example, if a person's working on vocal variety, then there will be different information on there versus if a person is working on things like body language. And it's helpful for you as the evaluator to know what specifically that project focuses on. On the right, it brings up their evaluation form. And I think this is one of the most important yet underutilized tools in Toastmasters, because not everybody fills them out. But if you sign up to be somebody's evaluator and you want to know, you want to have a template for that evaluation, all you have to do is click on there. And what I've seen some people do is print these forms and bring them to the meeting. I'm sitting beside Dana. It's exactly what she's done. And what other people do is do the evaluation just by taking notes. But then after the meeting, you can either complete it here, or I usually go home, I complete it on my computer, and then I email it to whoever's speech I was evaluating. It's 3 pages. The first page, you could put general comments on, mainly focusing on things they really did well or things they need to work on. The second page has categories for you to give them a numerical score. And the third page just explains what the numerical scores reflect. So very useful tool. Please consider using that. I'm going to stop at this point, and I'm actually going to introduce our general evaluator for this evening, who will lead our, no, it's table topics. Yeah, okay. I'm going to stop, and then I'm now going to introduce our table topics master. And for our guests, this is a fun opportunity for you to participate in the meeting if you like. Please join me in welcoming our previous past president, currently the District Club Growth Director, Toastmaster David Jones.
Thank you, Eric. All right. We'd like to mix it up once in a while. That's why the room's set up differently. We're doing a little something different for the guests. Eric is doing sort of a presentation, something you would do at work. So that's just kind of how you practice here at Toastmaster. You get to do different things. It's not always the same, but there is a format. We have a club, and here in our district, we have about 85 clubs. There's a club called Gold Mine. It's up in Concord. They meet every Saturday morning, and they are, they lie. What is the word I'm looking for, Alan? They are storytell. Everything storytell. They make everything up. So that's kind of what my table topics are going to be about tonight. But I'm going to tell a true story that actually happened to me. And I'm going to call on some people to tell us how it happened to me. So Cameron's going to be my first guy. So if you want to come up, I'll tell you what happened to me yesterday. Yeah, we haven't done this before. Cameron's always a guinea pig for things, but this actually happened to me yesterday. And then Cameron's going to tell how that happened. So yesterday morning, I literally woke up in South Florida and I had $2 million in my hand. And unfortunately, I woke up in South Florida, but if I woke up in Iraq, I'd be good because it was $2 million in Iraqi dinari. I think it's how they pronounce it. So I would have been a millionaire there, but I was in South Florida. So the question is, how did I wake up with $2 million in Iraqi dinari in my hand, Cameron? Thank you, Table Topics Master David. The first question I would ask, or that you should be asking, is who was he hanging out with the night before? Because this smells like hangover. He woke up in a strange place, didn't know how he got there. He could have been clothes. Maybe he was wearing clothes he didn't know how he got into. Maybe he wasn't wearing anything at all. But he had 2 million Iraqi dollars in his hand. Here's what's happened. He went down there for an insurance conference. He sells insurance, does a lot of insurance things. He went to a bar, had some dinner, had a few drinks, met a lady. Seems like she was interested at the time, but in truth, she worked for the Iraqi government. She drugged his drink. She used him as a scapegoat in her ploy to launder 2 million Iraqi dollars. So he wakes up the next morning, probably naked. He's got 2 million Iraqi dollars in his hand, a terrible hangover, so he's already not thinking clearly. He goes to the bathroom mirror, realizes what's happening. About that time, there's a knock on the door. It's the feds. She's turned him in. The real question is, how did he get out of all this legal trouble, put on some clothes, get a shower, talk his way out of this mess with the feds, and still make it to Toastmasters on time? That's how it happened. Thank you.
Thank you, Cameron. That was close, but Allison might have a better opinion of what happened. Allison. She wasn't there, but she might have a better idea of how I ended up with 2 million Iraqi dollars.
David loves to travel. He wants to see all the places, and he's seen to actually almost every single country in the world. But the one place that he has not been was Iraq. And what he did over the weekend, he took a flight. He went to Iraq. He thought, you know what I'd really like to do? I'm a big gambler. I like to live on the edge. What better place to do it than Iraq? He goes into one of the well-known casinos there, walks up to the slot machine, and just pulls it. All of a sudden, all these Iraqi coins start coming out of the machine. He starts getting low, grabbing them, pulling them all in, saying, I'm going to obviously turn these coins in before I leave the country and get back to Florida where I have to be. He decides that he really likes something to drink, not realizing there's some different laws in Iraq of alcohol. He takes a drink. His friend taps him on the shoulder and says, you know, drinking is not legal here in Iraq. They have strict rules in on these Muslim countries on alcohol. Well, David doesn't know. David doesn't want to get locked up in an Iraqi jail. Takes the money, makes a run for it, books the first flight he can get on, and goes right back to Florida. That's why he is still holding all his Iraqi money with him.
Thank you. All right. So then I got up and I went to the airport because I have to be here for the meeting. And I went to the airport and I went to one of those little currency exchange centers. And I took my money to give it to them. I wanted to get American dollars, but the guy told me no. Tom, do you know why the guy told me no? Come up here and say why I could not turn in my Iraqi dollars. I don't think they have gambling in Iraq either. Yeah. Not only that, no liquor, but why couldn't I get my money from the currency place, Tom?
It's an excellent question. I really don't quite know, but he probably thought it was dirty money because he heard about your morning. He heard about how you woke up. And he looked at you coming from South Florida, probably smelly because he just slept with a bunch of money and thought, I don't trust this guy. I'm not touching his money. I'm not getting involved with this. He already spoke to the feds. They talked to me. I'm not messing with it. Thank you. Please get me out of here.
Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. Do you have time for a few more, Eric? Okay. I was going to see if Rocky probably knows. He probably knows why I could not turn my money into the little exchange place. And when you find out, it's really dumb. But thank you, Rocky.
Well, a good indicator on why you didn't, why you weren't able to go to the airport with $2 million in exchange for it, because, you know, how did you even get to the airport with $2 million in the first place? Then you get there and then it's just like, okay, it's in one currency. Now you want to try to exchange it for American dollars. So that was probably a red flag altogether. So once they probably saw all of that, they probably took you in the back room like, hey, sir, excuse me, you mind coming with us? You be like, okay, I think I'm going to get my money, but that's not the case. Bring you in a small little room. And then two people going to show up. They the Jakes. So, you know, cops or FBI or whoever, undercover agents, and they can start questioning you. And then chances are they're going to ask you like, you know, where'd you get this money from? And then you're going to have this look on your face like, well, that's a good question because I don't even know, because you woke up in the hotel with it. So, and you didn't even know where you got it from. So, so typically, you know, I know with banks, like let's just say, with a larger sum of money like that, let's just say if you had $2 million, you couldn't take that $2 million to a bank and deposit it because that's the automatic red flag. You have to open up like multiple accounts. And I think the limit is like $10,000 for like one deposit. Anything over that, they're going to call. They're going to make the call. So, yeah. So that's probably the reason why you weren't able to get your money exchanged, because they probably knew it was something fraudulent or something suspicious.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Do you have time for a few guests? One guest? No? Any guess? I'm just going to ask a typical table topics question. And the term I was listening for was tall tales. That's what gold mine's known for, is tall tales. They always tell tall tales at their thing. Any guests want to try table topics? Or member? Typical. His hand was halfway up. No, I'm going to give you a whole different question. Would you rather wake up in America broke, homeless, on the streets, or wake up in Iraq with $2 million? Mike.
Easy question. Easy answer. I'm sorry. I would rather wake up in Iraq with 2 million of Iraqi dollars, because I would then find a way to convert those dollars. Actually, you know what? I'd probably stay in Iraq and just create a new life in Iraq and just be probably one of the richest guys in Iraq and, you know, start a new life over, start a family, learn the language or not. And yeah, I think that would be pretty easy because I'd be rich. So it's a pretty simple answer.
Appreciate it. Want me to wrap it up? Okay. The story is my parents, my mother and stepfather, always made bad choices in life. So after the Iraqi war, they thought they were going to make a lot of money. So they bought Iraqi dollars or whatever it's called. So they bought $2 million worth. So that's how I ended up with it. Because my mom recently went to assisted living. We sold her house. I was going through her stuff, and she said, "Don't, find the Iraqi money." So I took it to the airport. It's only like that big. $2 million Iraqi money is like, it's not a lot of money. Took it, and the currency exchange, they didn't have enough cash. So that's the only reason they didn't exchange it. So I flew into Charlotte and then they exchanged it there, but it was only worth $1,200 and change. So 2 million. So you're not going to be rich tonight. With $1,200 is the bottom line. So that's the end of my table topics. So thank you, Eric.
Thank you, David. May we please continue with the slides? Sounded very impressive. 2 million of anything just sounds really, really impressive. So I'm going to talk for a moment the general evaluator role. And as you'll see, because that's the next section we're going to cover, the general evaluator introduces the speech evaluators and the grammarian and the timer, who all give their individual reports. The general evaluator also evaluates everything that took place at the meeting. So from setup, starting on time, transition, how people function and perform, and also does evaluation or gives feedback to the speech evaluators and can help. The reason we do that is to help everybody get better at what they're doing here. The general evaluator can also add to the critique the speech evaluators have given to the people who have done their speeches. It's important because that's a big role and you're covering a lot of things. To be concise, and usually we allocate 3 to 4 minutes to the speech evaluator portion of the evaluation section. The evaluation section is longer because multiple people, as you'll see, come up and give their reports. But that's a very important role at our meeting, as you'll hear in a moment. So we are going to take a break as I now introduce, right on time, the speech evaluator. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to the one, the only, the incomparable Toastmaster, Colin Stifler.
I pay him to say nice things about me like that. No one actually naturally says that many nice things about me. So thank you, Eric. Good evening again, everyone. I'm your general evaluator this evening, which marks the beginning, as Eric mentioned, of the evaluation portion of the meeting. Every meeting has the prepared speech element, the impromptu speaking element, and then the evaluation part, which I really think is why we all come here, right? To get that feedback that we can carry out with us. We're going to kick things off with an evaluation of Alan's excellent speech about running successful speaking contests. And to do that, Dana Robinson is going to deliver that evaluation.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters, honored guests. Alan, you did a wonderful job with your speech. Structurally, you did a great job of introducing the topic that you were going to discuss, planning speech contests, and then you went into why it's difficult. I believe you used the term blood, sweat, and tears, and then you provided us a great overview of why it's so difficult to put these speech contests together. As always, you had great clarity. You did a good job of looking out at the audience, making eye contact with different people. I saw you make gestures. In particular, my favorite, I don't know if you did this on purpose, but you talked about flexing your leadership muscles and you kind of like went like this. And I thought that was a nice touch, whether intentional or not. You also did a great job of just breaking down all of the different points that make it difficult in general to plan a speech contest. And I hope that more people will understand now and volunteer for roles when you bring this up or when you approach us. I think your compliment that Toastmasters are 10 times less flaky than the average person probably helped. I mean, compliments never hurt. I was going to tell you, I remember, if you could improve on anything, I remember talking about this with you and you telling me that like your alarm didn't go off that day, like you missed your turn, you had to go pick up donuts. If I were you and you ever give this speech again, I would work those things into the speech just because I really felt your struggle when you told me about all of those events. And it's also like a little bit funny. You could definitely play it up and it would make the speech even more interesting. So those would be some suggestions that I could give to you. The only other suggestion I would have is, and I'm not saying that you did this, but just make sure not to be like scolding, because people, even when they deserve a good scolding, will just withdraw rather than try to help you out. So that's all of my feedback. Great job. I thought it was a wonderful speech.
Thank you so much, Dana. That was a professional evaluation right there. Right? She celebrated the good things. She highlighted the good, because that's important to do, but she also gave him some things to think about, which there's no tough love here. You know, it's all coming from a good place. It's all constructive, but you come here for the real deal. I'm going to kick things over to Mumita for a timers report. She's going to produce the times for our prepared speech and then our table topics folks and then our evaluator as well.
So it was a good session we had. And coming to prepared speech, Alan took 7 minutes, 27 seconds. Table topic, Allison took 1 minute, 38 seconds. Tom, 46 seconds. Rodney, 1 minute, 33 seconds. Mike, 41 seconds. And Dana, 1 minute, 56 seconds. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mumita. That brings things to my general evaluation, which if you've been here before and you've watched me go through one of these, you're probably cringing right now because I've always taken a ridiculously long time to get through it. I'm trying to work on becoming a little bit more succinct with this. So we're going to kick things up by celebrating the fact that we started on time at 6:30 on the dot. So we always deserve credit for that. Cam, charming start to the meeting as always. I love watching this guy when he comes in every day because he's always wearing a different outfit. It's like a different like alter ego. Today I'm seeing like white. Well, we don't know each other that well yet, but today I'm seeing like Whitewater Center dad who's on his like 7th pale ale. That's the vibe I'm getting from you right now, and I like it. I like it. Andrea, very presidential, serving as our presiding officer of the meeting on short notice. You came up here surprised, but you absolutely rocked it. Eric, I'm going to get to you at the end, my friend, but we're going to skip past you for the moment to Wild Bill. Always wearing the blazer, always bringing the patriotism, the public service, the altruism. I love it. Former fighter pilot, ladies and gentlemen. So in school teacher, so he uses it. Seriously, always engaging with your eye contact, Bill. If you want to see a great example of great eye contact, just sprinkler in the room. That's your man. Yasmin, excellent job with the grammarian, as well as drinking or thinking out loud words for filler words. I never heard filler words described as thinking out loud words, but it's just so strikingly simple. It's like, oh, why didn't I think of that? So I don't know if that was a Yasmin original or not, but I liked hearing that. So thank you very much. Mumita, the timer, you're clear, you're succinct. You do a great job at educating folks. I just want to crank up the volume just a little bit. Otherwise, I thought it was really good. Alan, excellent speech. It was on topic, really fit in nicely with the theme of tonight's meeting. And it seems like you also prepared that speech at short notice too. That's a pro Toastmasters move right there. If you can give a speech at short notice. That's how you know you've been coming here and putting in the reps. David Jones, creative take on table topics, sir. Normally, the table topic section is asking questions, but it's not limited to that. You don't have to just subscribe to whatever the mold is. I thought that was really creative. And clearly there are some good liars in here that you got to be wary of. So Cam and Allison, you did a good job rolling with it. You were humorous. Tom, you have a lot of faith in the morality of currency exchangers. So you had said that the currency exchange person was just like, no, there's something seedy about this. I mean, they're the biggest thieves in most countries, the currency exchangers. You know, so you've got a lot of faith in their honesty. And then Mike, you gave the right answer until David brought it all crashing down with the actual like cash value of those 200 Iraqi dinari. But really good job. I got to say though, man, your arms always do like most of the talking. Like I hear what you're saying. You look like you're doing a good job talking, but I was just looking at those monster arms. Dana, really thoughtful, professional evaluation, as I had mentioned previously. Eric, this is a pro for a long time. Polished, the word that comes to mind when he speaks. He's really polished. You don't really hear filler words with him. He's calm. The tone is approachable, conversational, just like you might get when you're talking with him one-on-one. That's the mark, I think, of a good speaker. He's not standing up here performing and acting, totally different from the guy that you know and talk to after the meeting, if you've talked to him after a meeting before. The topic that he brought up here, good use of technology, good use of a PowerPoint presentation, because it wasn't, an overkill PowerPoint with 500 words on each slide. There were funny images, it was simple, it was approachable. the theme itself was helpful. You know, it's a utilitarian theme, I would say. You know, every once in a while you get in here and people will give speeches about Toastmasters, or you lead a meeting that's about Toastmasters. You don't have to do that. You know, most of our meetings aren't about that. I think I've led a meeting, you know, on the topic of fruit before. Cam, I think you did the Dallas Cowboys not that long ago. So you can come in here every week and you can get something totally different. I think that for the speech topic tonight, you know, sometimes officers in particular will take advantage of an opportunity to use the platform to educate folks about some of the more nuts and bolts of Toastmasters, or pull back the curtain and show you how stuff works. I thought, because you're a natural teacher, you did a really good job of that. Because it was more geared toward our members, people who are familiar with the website, logging in, the one thing I might say to you is to maybe take a step back and explain a concept when you introduce it for the first time. So I think you had said something to the effect of, when you'd pulled up the agenda, you know, when all of you log in here, you know, this is what you typically see. You know, maybe just a brief line that says, you know, for our guests who might not know what they're looking at, this is our weekly meeting sign up agenda where you can log in, you can sign up for a role for an upcoming meeting. Just kind of orient folks to that. But otherwise, I thought that was really well done. So how did I do on time? Did I stay within my time? All right. Well, that's all I have. And we're going to kick it over to the grammarian for grammarian's report, and then we're going to bow out.
Thank you, Toastmaster Colin. So I'm going to try not to take it personally, but only Alan used my word of the day. So I'm just going to guess that there's a complete other reason that no one else used it. But yes, only Alan used it. So thank you, Alan. And then outside of that, our meeting was actually really good as far as filler words. 70% of the meeting was free of filler words. The only people who did, Mike and Dana, you guys each just said one time. And then Rocky, you had a couple of ums and yeahs. One that I really want you to watch out for is, it's not a typical filler word, but you use probably throughout your speaking, and it's not really adding anything. So I just kind of want you to take note of that and just try to remove it. But overall, yeah, great meeting. Everyone did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yasmin. That concludes our evaluation portion of the meeting. So we're going to turn it back over to our Toastmaster, Eric.
Thank you, Colin. You used the time very, very well, must say, very well. Back to the slides we're now in our home stretch. Thank you all for enduring some of the smaller images here. I had asked David if we have a budget for like 150 inch TV, and apparently that's not in the dues, but there may be a slight dues increase next year, so we could afford that kind of stuff. So I just want to finish it. Well, I would be remiss if I didn't share with you where you could get more information. Toastmasters has a wealth of resources that you can look to. Just to give you a couple of examples, on the right, there is a booklet called A Toastmaster Wears Many Hats, and I've gone through that several times, especially when I first joined the club. And that booklet, which you can download from their website, has detailed descriptions of all of the roles. And keep in mind that there's some variation from club to club, but you could feel free to take as much out of that information as you would like. The second place I would suggest people go to is YouTube. I always find that helpful. When I was doing new roles for the first time, I just go to YouTube and I just search the role and I watch 3 or 4 videos and see how people did those roles from different clubs. And the third resource, which I think is extremely important, are just fellow club members. And so if you're doing a role for the first time and you remember that somebody else did that role a few weeks ago and you thought they did a good job, just go and talk to them and ask them for some tips. And I think that can be really, really helpful. So let's come back sort of to the beginning of the evening. Why is this topic of understanding how to use our agenda and how to put information there? And it's because what I told you earlier, that you could be tapped professionally in your place of employment or on another occasion in life to do something. And the more work you put in here, the better prepared you're going to be and you're going to excel. And that really will pay back to you in leaps and bounds. We went over the Toastmaster, went through the images, talked about the importance of the speaker, putting in their pathway information, putting in their speech title and their bio. We went over how the speech evaluator should know where to find the two little blue buttons that I showed you. And finally, we spoke about the general evaluator. Brings me toward the end of this presentation, and I want to challenge our club. I've played with our website quite a bit since becoming president at the beginning of last year. And I added this, which I think has a lot of sentiment about why I think what I think our club is all about. And it's that we try to bring out the best in each other. And I learned that in improv, because when you go to improv, you learn that your goal in a scene is to make the other guy look good, not you. And if you're making that guy look good and they're making you look good, you're both going to do great. So my challenge to everybody is that we could bring out the best in each other by bringing out the best of ourselves to each role we take on at our meetings. So if I'm the Toastmaster and I make sure we've got a good agenda, everybody who comes to that meeting is going to have a great experience. If I'm giving a speech and I make sure I've got my pathways, my level, my title, and my bio in there, I'm going to make that Toastmaster look really good. So I think all of us should take that responsibility on. And with that, I will bring my part of tonight's meeting to a close. And I would now like to turn the meeting back over to our presiding officer. Please join me again in giving a very, very, very warm welcome to Andrea, the Chocolate Butterfly Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Eric. So at this time, we get the opportunity to hear back from our visitors. So I'm going to bring up one of my favorite people, Toastmaster Colin, to come and do a brief interview with each one of you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good to see everyone again. I noticed that as the meeting went on, more people came in. Meeting appears to be about 75% larger than when it started. So I'm going to seek out the folks who came in, ask you to introduce yourself, say where you're from, what brought you out tonight. And then if we still have time after that, I'll go around to the other guests who were here from the start who introduced themselves just to hear what they had to say about the meeting as well. So I'm going to go over here to the cheap seats. It's a man with the good-looking necktie over here. What's your name, sir? Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good. My name is Deveron Harper. I'm originally from South Carolina, but I've been in Charlotte for a while now. I was introduced to Toastmasters maybe about 15 years ago by a good friend of mine. Does anyone know Chuck Sawicki? Okay, well, he told me about Toastmasters about 15 years ago. Life happened, kids, marriage, everything, and I made it out today. And so I'm just glad to be here, and I'm excited about the opportunity. And thank you for reminding me of So I'm going to try to eliminate that.
Yeah, well, thank you for coming out. Yeah. A big thank you to Chuck for planting that seed that, took its time sprouting, but you're here now. We're glad that you're here now. Hassan, you walked in. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thanks. Hello, everyone. My name is Hassan, originally from Massachusetts. Came here to North Carolina about a year and a half ago. I've been here in Charlotte for about 6 months. I actually didn't come. I almost actually didn't make it today. But I told myself I was going to be more committed. So I followed through on it, and I came and decided to keep on coming as I promised you all and promised myself. So I'm here and want to improve, and hopefully next time I can also speak again. So thank you.
Good evening, sir. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing good, thanks. You mind sharing your name with us, where you're from, and what brought you out?
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Tamba. I'm originally from the Congo, where I was born, but I've lived in Charlotte for now about 8 years now, going on 9. My future wife right here, she's the one who introduced me to Toastmasters, actually. She wanted me to come today. I just got done coaching a bunch of kids. Filler words. That's what I'm here to eliminate, actually. That's what I'm here to eliminate, actually. So for me, honestly, the purpose here is to improve on my speech abilities, and also be able to properly express myself, especially because I work in finance. So it's very important to be able to communicate properly to leadership. So I'm committing to come as often as possible and improve as much as possible.
Awesome. Glad to have you. Now, which Congo are you from? Congo Kinshasa or Congo Brazzaville? All right. Mwanamboka. All right, we've got two more people who walked in here. Would you mind just same questions? Name, where you're from, what brought you out?
Hi, everyone. My name's Lainey. I'm originally from New York. I moved here in Charlotte about 3 years ago, so still fairly new, but I feel like this is home now. I've learned from Toastmasters from my lovely friend here, Monty, because I actually have a very big presentation coming up for work that I'm quite nervous about. It's in front of all my colleagues. I'm traveling to Philadelphia for it. And I know I have a lot to work on in terms of my speech and just presenting in general. So I wanted to check out what Toastmasters is all about and how I can learn and grow. Yeah.
My name is Montserrat Mendez. I'm originally from Mexico City, but I've lived here for about 20 years. And to pass on the baton, I was actually told about Toastmasters from another friend. So it's both of ours first time and wanted to check it out because same way, we're in a profession where we have to present and want to sound, educated and well, speak wise as well. And so wanted to check it out, even though we were a little late. But that's all I have for you guys.
Thank you very much. Well, guests can come here as much as they want. There's no obligation to join, just filling it out. There's also dozens of clubs in the Charlotte region. If this isn't a location, if this isn't a time that's convenient for you, we encourage you to check those out too. Obviously, we'd love to have you here at the oldest club in Charlotte, but judgment-free zone, come back as much as you want. And if and when you're ready to talk about joining, we're happy to do that. Do we have any more time? All right, we've got a couple more minutes. So we're going to bring it back to the guests who've already introduced themselves. What I'd like to know is, what word would you use to describe your experience with us tonight?
Enlightening, I guess. I would say enlightening.
All right, that's a good word. That's a good word. Thank you.
My word that I would use to describe tonight is warm. I always feel welcome when I come here, and like this is a judgment-free zone. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Your question, what word? Well, I think today, particularly, this meeting was, I would say, educational, because Eric, he did a very good presentation about all the dynamics of the different roles. So it's educational.
I would say expanding, because I'm expanding my knowledge on this topic. So I would love to learn new things, get into public speaking and see where I can go from there.
Thank you very
much. Thank you. Inaya, again, I would say humorous, and maybe compared to my previous Toastmasters club being in a corporate environment, I think this one was very much more like relaxed, funny. It kept me awake, which is very good. So I would definitely say humorous.
And I would like to point out, I think we're the only club that offers snacks. I know it's not caviar, but it's something. So I think we can take some credit for that. And with that, I'll turn things back over to the lovely Andrea.
Thank you. We have a few announcements tonight. So first of all, we have the great opportunity for all our members who want to highlight the beautifulness and wonderfulness of Queen City and Toastmasters. You can volunteer with us Thursday at the Chamber of Commerce. Please see Dr. Eric if you want to do that. It is from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So plan to be there the whole day. And we want to remind everybody, and that's everybody in the room. So even our visitors who want to join us and you want to get your presentation skills up, well, this is the time. This is dues time. It is due. Please pay your dues. So and just so put that in context, like Alan was saying, the contest this is contest season. So any of us that are a part of the contest, your dues have to be in order. And also your club has to be in order. So we need everybody to make sure they're doing what they need to do. Lastly, the big announcement, drum roll, please. Queen City is has turned 70, and we're having a wonderful platinum anniversary gala. So we're wanting you to RSVP to the club. Let us know if you're coming. If you're bringing a guest, please let us know. Okay. It is free. It is free, but we have limited space. So we need to know who's coming so that we can plan accordingly. If you have any questions, see one of the officers in the club, or Dana. She's an officer now. I forgot. You can see her too. You can see any of the officers for more information. And with that, I'm going to take this beautiful gavel right here. We're going to call this meeting to a close.